upper bracket. Oh, what an incredible game and start to the season this has already been for Heretics and KC just the other day. Now we're kicking it off in the big leagues, a chance to push through to playoffs. For KC, on that attack side, we'll see how much they can get done. This is split, and somewhere you're going to imagine there's going to be a lot of comfort. Benji Fishy, though, could be made uncomfortable by that Yoru already. The decoy bought some space for a dash out, and that's given them a ton to work with, except the rest of the squad a little late out of the choke point. Good flash coming through, and the trades stay even. Team Heretics still in with a chance, thanks to Boo. Patatek's already made it as well. That snake bite slowing down the squad as the spike is irretrievable, and now a big fight to be had as Shin emerges from the smoke, but Heretics were waiting.
Good start, a fairly brute force attempt, a group up in towards that B site, and pretty much every single fight going down in a similar position. I sort of want to go back to what you're mentioning at the beginning. Like, for these teams, this is a chance to not only get to playoffs, but because the playoffs are only a few teams, get top 4. I don't think there's meant, like, obviously the goal is get your way to Madrid, it's get yourself to one of those Masters events, especially the first one. I feel like there might be slightly more opportunities with maybe a few teams not quite on form, but to get into the top 4 for either of these teams, I think is still a great start, especially considering the last year.
Yeah, both of them have had a tough history.
They'll take top 4, I'm telling you now.
If karma is real, this is an example of it, I'll tell you that. They're certainly cashing in on all that's left to be found. Now you can see Team Heretics have got a bit of a shift in setup. Last time it was B site, they had their Cypher traps there. This time it's around on A that Benji set up. That means Boo is going to have to take some of the load as they move in towards the B site alongside Mini Boo up top. The brothers defending B. Can KC break through this? And with only classics, you don't imagine much will be done. Oh, just the orb found, in fact.
Yeah, going to be retrieving that up. Seems that obviously Shin was the one who got the majority of the kills in the last, so Cosmic Divide might not necessarily be the most helpful thing in the world, but it will at least get them space. And I think especially when you're playing with a Yoru, it actually can be quite useful. You can basically silently get past a lot of that utility. Mini Boot already coming under pressure again. It's similar to what we've seen from both these teams in the past, just moving as a death ball, trying to trade out effectively and do as much damage as possible.
It's a good idea, trying to catch players off guard, but you can see not much to be found. Really just a disadvantage of having those weapons and the patience of Team Heretics constantly falling back. Mini Boo, sure, he gets caught out in the open in the end, but he gave up the control of heaven, fell back incrementally and allowed his teammates to take the fight with him. That's exactly what you want to see kicking this off. A very good start for Heretics. The morale high and their economy looking very pretty.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with both these teams' combos is obviously running that double controller and only having a single initiator, I guess. Our team kind of acts as a quasi-initiator, but it's going to be one of those situations where it can be quite difficult if you lose that player to get yourself in initially onto the site. It's our first tech balls of the year.
Yeah, Tom, I can't help but feel it. Well, you know, just like the rain, you've brought it with you, Tom. I don't know what to say. Last night I was watching.
Wow, come on, dude.
Close to Pansy is the
guys, अगर आप नए चैनल पे तो मेक श्योर आप स्ट्रीम को लाइक करें. स्ट्रीम को लाइक करने के लिए चैट आपको ना स्क्रीन पे थोड़ी देर प्रेस करके रखेंगे. आप अपने अंगूठे या कोई भी उंगली को प्रेस करके रखें आप स्क्रीन पे तो आपको लाइक बटन शो हो जाएगा. तो मेक श्योर आप स्ट्रीम को लाइक करें. Thank you.
Good mix of information and also the flashes. So you kind of have that on the side of KC while running that Yoru. You get the flashes alongside what I guess
लाइक करेंगे तो हमारे लिए अच्छा है थोड़ा
in this sort of composition.
हमारे वीडियोस को बूस्ट मिलेगा.
Heretics is going to have to be very segmented and very reliant on basically Rien's setting up Mini Boo when they go onto that attack side. For the defense, their composition is fantastic.
Yes, I got it by क्या हाल है कैसे हो आप. स्वागत है आपका स्ट्रीम पर.
Having a quasi sentinel.
भाई इसका भी है मेरे पास.
You're going to get that with both Benji and Patatek. But then you also have
भाई मैंने भरा था बहुत सारी चीजें मिल
run like a controller.
Yo, I got it, boy. कैसे हो आप? स्वागत है आपका स्ट्रीम पर.
Delay for an awful amount of time. And if they do manage to get past everything, you have the paranoia to slow them down. So I'm sort of interested more so.
इसका भी मिला था भाई. जो भी देखो वैलोरेंट में जितने अभी वो मिल रही है ना इस समय जो टूर्नामेंट्स में है उन सबका मिला हुआ है. आप वैलोरेंट ओपन करते हो ना तो उधर ई-स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन में जो मैचेस होने वाले हैं उन सबका मिला हुआ है.
for teams
Esports section
for
में
you
आप
to
जाएं,
make the same things
VALORANT के
work,
जो
right?
list
Like,
है
this character
properly
becomes much more predictable. There's only
वो
certain
मिला है।
angles, certainly in the early
VCT
round,
EMEA
that you can find
Pacific
those
EMEA
positions.
and
I think that's going to be a
VCT
challenge, certainly for someone like Benji, who primarily finds that value from stopping you getting through those choke points.
I guess the one value though for Heretics, obviously they've had a max amount of time, but is at least they've seen KC play this. Like this is one of the few maps. Like I always have my little thing of like, oh, how many times they played on a map, and as you can see, most of it's blank. But I still like to do it anyway. But the one of the ones that's filled in is split, and so they've already seen this exact comp play versus Giant X, and also it went pretty much every single round. So that's the one thing they have, is that little bit of extra data. You're going to have had Weber and Nilzinho sort of slaving away in the back lines to try and come up with some counters, because that's the thing. It's like, that's what we've always witnessed whenever anybody has brought in a Yoru in the past, is the first time out, it looks amazing. You go, okay, they've completely caught them. I think back to Draken playing it on Haven, and they had that really cool, they had that cool cosmic divide that got them under Heaven on the A side. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. He did it in the next game, and someone shorted him in the face because they knew where he was going, they knew where his TP
also,
landed,
guys, if you want to take membership, you can take it
where the whole strat lies.
by just clicking the membership.
You've got your lineup. You'd have to have a whole new lineup that goes somewhere else.
On
so
the screen.
That's always the thing, is keeping it a little bit more unique. But also, I think some of the cool stuff we saw yesterday on Map Sunset is sometimes you can throw in something that seems like the same strategy and then just do it slightly differently. And I think Gentlemates did an excellent job of that, even though their defense didn't go fantastically well. Was they had these cool TPs, and the first time you take it, the second time, well, you got the tank jumping around the corner on a raise and shooting you in the face, because you're like, oh, I've got it, I'm waiting for the TP, it's on the floor. I didn't expect some guy to just come out of nowhere and kill me. So that's what I'm looking for Carmine Corp with this composition is, do you have that little bit of extra depth to almost use what you've done in the past to mind game your opponents?
We'll let you guys at home know as well that
Bhai,
over on the side of KC, I believe there was some audio issues, so the league admins have been looking into it
right now
in the background, just getting those ironed out. Make sure that's not an issue as the series moves on. Obviously, round 2, kind of where you want to iron out those problems.
Setting up,
and then moving into the next, that's where KC get a real
जब
challenge.
तक setup हो रहा है chat, जब तक आप like कर दें stream को,
yeah, for this squad, there's a ton of questions. I think going back to that with the discussion around Yoru, I think one of the main problems is when it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to take the space and trade the same way as you would be with the Jet or something like that. But we talked a lot, and the audio issues are still persisting. So we're going to toss this over to the analyst desk.
Who's on the desk?
Let's go.
Pavlos and Ash.
Do you know what? I just knew they were going to do that. I knew. I was like, there's 100% chance that Tom or Mitch is going to say to Pavlos and Ash, but hey, I deserve that. But I know it's only been 2 rounds, but we always love talking about pistols, and I feel like, Josh, I'm going to give you the stage. If you can just talk through what we saw in the pistol round, what you liked, what you didn't like, and if there's anything that confirmed maybe a little bit of our suspicions on what they were going to do, we're going to show it to you in just a second. We have it somewhere. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there were a couple of cool things that we saw. So we saw the defense. I was talking about how they might do like these passive things, these retakes, these traps. But Raze is getting down there. Market is smoked off. Raze clears all of sewers. Then, because they've cleared most of the map out, they've got this rotate all the way back to B. And right here, I'm thinking, oh, wow, okay, they got this fade eye. They're able to spam the Cypher out. But they get locked out at the choke point. They don't get through for some reason. It's only the Raze out there. So that 5 versus 4 man advantage that they have becomes a 4-on-4. And that comes down to a 2-on-2. So it's like, it could go either way, but it's not like one team outplayed the other team. Both teams did things that were really cool. The idea to just play the 1-3-1 setup on defense. They clear out all of middle. They're going to destroy anybody that's out there with their teamwork, and then if it's nobody's middle, it's either all A or all B at that point. They have the Cypher set up on B, and there's a super fast rotation coming in through Heaven, and then the Viper's playing retake A from screens. And if anything happens towards A, she keeps screens control, everyone rotates either through sewers, Raze was already there, could get a nice flank off. Is there a problem?
No, sorry.
It's a trigger word for you.
No,
Say the S word or something.
No, like, yeah. It's just the first time I've heard you say help me soon. I'm not super used to it. Yeah, carry on.
It wasn't me that said it, okay? I'll have you know, it wasn't me.
Sorry, carry on. That was a freebie for chat.
And then they would all be able to rotate up through vents so that they'd have the nice rotation through Heaven, through screens, and potentially a flank as well, doing a multi-prong retake but the execution came onto B, and they had the Fade Eye combo with, I think there was something else as well. The Cypher wasn't able to instantly take out the Fade Eye, which means that he gets revealed and spammed through the spammable wood wall. So everything looked pretty good from both teams. Got down to a 2 versus 2 where, you know, it came down to just guns at that point. So we're going to see something pretty interesting from both these teams. Yes, pistol round and usually like first or second gun rounds are, you spend more time working on that, and then the later phases of the game, it's more adaptations, what's going on, how do we want to adjust little things, do we want to layer in some fakes or whatnot. That's when we're going to see those types of interesting things. But if this is what we're starting out with on round 1, then
you get a good game, right?
Yeah, we're in store for good things.
Yeah, I like the depth. Like, for example, like right at the end, you're like, why cannot they get on side? We see like the Viper Molly on the floor, and now they have to second guess and they have to wait. Okay, let's put the star and we can cross. But also the good communication and the fact that Heretics had their head in the game. Boost instant response and says, no, come walk with me. Let's not let them do it, and that actually ends up in a favorable situation for them. But yeah, I think it's still obviously very, very early in the game to make more conclusions. But I think it's looking good. I think it's going to be a banger.
I mean, this is what we talked about, right? How well prepared are both of these teams? Oh,
That's
the Yoru.
Yeah, it was the
Yes.
Yoru. So the Cypher turned around and looked at the fake Yoru TP, and when that happened, the Fade Eye came in, and that's what scanned him out. That's what scanned out Benji Fishy.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you guys also...
Good synergy.
So this is what you spoke about. Like, both of these teams, they looked good the first time we saw them, but, you know, looking good once on an opening day where your nerves could be played into factor as well. And again, we hear teams go like, oh, if we play against each other 10 times, you know, we could beat each other 5 times each. So, but this is why it matters, right? Because if you win this game, you skip the play-in stage, you go straight to playoffs, and you can wait there and watch what everyone else is doing. You have more time to prep. You have more time to see what you're going to be going up against. Whereas if you lose this game today, the losing team, you might still be eliminated before the next stage. You're just not safe if you lose today.
You're never safe. I think it's also very important to challenge everything that you've prepped. Like they want to do on the split again. If the other day there was mistakes, if there's any other, they need to know as soon as possible, because everything needs to be ready. This is not only making it out of groups or surviving one day after the other. Is when you get to Madrid, are you going to be ready? Like, is your map? How is your map going to be looking? How is your team going to be adapting on the fly to everything? Not only the things.
Feel like Kukuka and Josh, is the solve when you go to international event is to have as many things as possible that you haven't shown. So teams around the world, when they're trying to anti-strat you, when they're trying to see how you play your protocols, let's say, you know, it is possible for a team only to play, what, 3 or 4 games before they go to Madrid? Or do you think it's more important to get as many reps as you can, especially as a new team, and just not care about showing stuff?
I am personally on the side of reps, because you need to test if what you have done is good enough. You have to test what the new counters and the new adaptations are going to be into that. And if you're not able to see past that and to look for the next answer that follows in that domino effect, you have to change it, and you better do so before jumping into international events. What do you think?
Well, my personal philosophy with like in-game leading teams and just getting things on the board, it's important to have like you focus your energy on like the most important things that will have the most drastic impact and that will have the longest.
Guys, something error ho gaya tha, but
obviously going over something like pistol rounds, eco rounds,
everything is
anti-ecos,
rectified,
and like first gun rounds are very important, because you're going to play those pretty much in every single game. So making sure that you have a good like foundation to build upon is really important. And another thing that you need to do is you need to work on like basic protocols. So protocol is a reaction on defense. If you lose control of this area, what are ways that we can, like, how do we want to deal with that? We can deal with it this way, or we could deal with it that way. Whether that be, okay, we group up and then we re-clear an area. Maybe that's, okay, we give that area up because we don't need it at a certain point in the round. So I would focus inwards on that and on ourselves being just stronger fundamentally.
Well, I mean, so far it seems like both teams are doing just that. The tech pause is over, and it's time to jump back into game, I believe, with Brennan Sideshow, is it?
Thank you so much, Golden Boy, and our analyst desk. Yes,
we've got
team. Whoa. I was having a good day till then, Tom. This moment, that's when the day stopped being good. 2-0, Team Heretics versus KC. And look, we've seen a little bit of a tech pause, but we're back into things now. KC, they've got Shin popping off. He's got a kill for every teammate that he's got. The only one to show up so far, but it's only been 2 rounds. The last one they had a classic and they got absolutely shut down. Now a chance to get back on the board. Rifles in hand, and as you said earlier, Tom, thanks to those 4 kills, thanks to the orb farming of KC as well, Shin has got that Cosmic Divide online, and whilst it might not be getting you a kill like the big old rocket launcher or pushing your enemies off the site, it can definitely help to cut up some of these angles and at least get you out of the choke points that they've definitely got to face. Looking towards B, there are some players here ready, and the main thing is Rienz is here. You're going to have that breach utility on hand to slow down any kind of push, but from what we've seen of KC so far, they don't mind changing the direction.
Yeah, I'm more looking at Miniboo. He's sort of spotting to see if there is anybody making their way back into mid. 45 seconds for Carmine Corp, and because he hasn't seen anything, they can keep those 2 players cemented within. About to come under a little bit of pressure. The peak time is going to be everything, and just seeing that little bit of utility is enough for him to fall back now completely. They pop the orb as well, just to try and slow them that little more. And actually, he's going to dedicate himself to the B site, which with 25 seconds left means they're going to have a 3 stack there for the take.
This is it. Even the hope being that those players saw the presence and moved back, but they haven't. They're still very much in position, and after the stun, damage is done. Rien's only good for 1, but 10 seconds left. They have to quicken the pace on the way through. Cosmic Divide gives a safe haven to Boo, and the nade will slow them down even further. Blast pack to ensure that no plant can be found, and the time is already too far gone. A gorgeous round from Team Heretics as they let KC play against the clock.
Yeah, the Carmine Corp playing against the clock. Somewhere in the world, some man has just shouted the word melons. I don't know. It just seems like that was completely down to timing. Like that little bit of information that was garnered by Miniboo was enough for them to just, okay, we could just dedicate to this side of the map. If they try and rotate that late towards the A site, it's going to leave them in exactly the same scenario. And Miniboo just holding onto his nade. That was basically it. He held onto it for the rest of the round and then just dropped it on the only place they were able to really plant. And he also, by the way, put a blast back on the other side. Yep. So if they tried to plant it there, he would have pushed them off.
And possibly into the nade. Now, right, taken down very quickly. Perhaps a worthwhile trade with Patatek's utility no longer in play. And we've already seen that Viper util do so much to the side of KC in some of the earlier rounds, just in slowing them down. And that's been the main problem, getting out onto sites. 4 versus 4, but a rifle picked up. And with 2 in hand, they might stand a chance in some of these duels. Again, though, Team Heretics have been very patient, very disciplined, keeping a lot of their utility, certainly any utility that doesn't refresh, they seem to have that online very late into the round. And I don't know if that's both them being disciplined or to how much degree that plays in, or KC not baiting util.
Oh, timing's going to be everything. Showstopper is available, might not even be needed. Benji has managed to get 2, and well, from the grave, Miniboo has got a couple of their own. Heretics, I love this. They're not just sitting back and waiting for their opponents to come for them. As said, like with the composition they have, they've got a lack of information other than that of Benji, so they're just going looking for it, constantly moving around the map. It kind of it reminds me of like some old school style split where you played like a Reign of Rays, and it's like, okay, you don't technically have any real info, so you go looking, you go hunting, and you have to be dynamic and you have to have good calls, and that's exactly what they had in that round.
Yeah, especially when we've seen some of those other rounds where they do just sit back and wait. You know, a different flair to it is what we like to see. And for KC, remember though, they had mostly pistols going into that previous round. It was a low buy round. They got some damage off, but the economy of Heretics is not really in that weak of a position. They don't need to be terribly worried. We've seen the map control from KC, the orb farming. It looks like some of the same as they're very spread.
Again, it's a similar scenario. Miniboo just spotting for any information he can find. An early take of control from Martin, but it is being watched. They know if anybody's going to push in this direction. And again, it looks like an attempted split, with mid-control being a big part of the game for both sides. That Viper utility has been holding them back for quite a while. And again, they haven't really been able to take this control. They're just having to sit and wait.
Yeah, I think the main problem is, you know, if you don't drop Patatek, if he doesn't get over aggressive here or get caught off guard, he's able to drop back, use his util as he falls back, ignore that control Martin has because he'd have to fight through or run through a Viper wall. There's just no way into that mid-split, and I think they're realizing that on the side of KC. They met too much resistance, so the rotate is on. Right back around to heaven.
But it's the 3-stack again. The read is correct. It was the same on the B site in a prior round, but with no presence shown. Now they're going to put up those smokes, but they've got to be careful of the players in the site.
There's a lot to work with. That stun has done a bunch. Rienz is pushed out of position, but they're not there yet. Only now making it to the site with 15 seconds left. Still a trap up that they're going to walk right into. Free wall bang for Benji. He's just biding time on the site, but he falls eventually. And with Rienz out of play, there's no denying that. That plant is coming through, and instead the retake has to come on for Team Heretics. 2 versus 4. The disadvantage is palpable, and the way back through isn't easy. At least a Viper wall to block an angle, but Paytm now down to 30 HP. And it's going to be Boo that has to do the heavy lifting, and they have no idea where these other players are. Everything to work with for KC. It's still losable.
Yeah, they've got to be careful not to overextend, but with 2 players in the close cover, you have to think there isn't much of a chance. Magnum even just looking to support takes a lot of damage, but Boo needs to get a move on. Doesn't really have much time left on the clock to play with, needs to get on this almost immediately, and Magnum's just going to go running straight through. No fear, but a lot of damage taken. At least KC have a round.
Yeah, he realized the time was on his side. If he doesn't get that halfway, it was over and done with. 1 round for KC, and nicely done. This is a good example of innovating into the round. They realized that there were some danger zones, especially around middle, that there were players there. There was too much util to fight through, and most importantly, the clock was running a little bit low. So they shift focus, move back towards that A site, and burst out. Very efficient. And again, you look at some of that utility. You would have had a player, Rienz, playing an elbow, being able to have that second angle, and instead he's pushed back by all their utility, has to play on site, and takes a pretty disadvantageous fight, considering there were 3 guns pointing back the other way. Then they can isolate Benji. Just really nicely done, and we want to see more of that from KC. I'm looking for the faster paced rounds though.
Yeah, that's the thing that's been quite interesting. Like, sure, they've been able to bait out quite a lot of the utility from, say, Paytm and a few smokes from Boo. Like, that's mostly been the mid-hold. It's been a snake bite, the poison orb, or a smoke. Like, that's constantly been going down. So playing later into the round at least gives them the ability to avoid a lot of that utility. The problem is, I don't feel like they're pressuring too much. Like, Mini Boo in that round prior, having his nade at the very end of the round shows you haven't really baited out that much, because that's something that normally flies out the second there's any real pressure. So either I want to see them pressure a little bit more and force out some of that util, or do what they did again where it's at least a little bit later. And I think in this round it's going to be a bit different, because they have so many high impact ultimates online. Like, just on information alone, you can talk about Martine and Magnum being able to find something, but then you've also got the showstopper to capitalize off that as well.
Yeah, oh, for sure. The ultimate economy stacked towards KC. We wanted to see a faster round. That looks like we might just get that. A lot of presence towards A, and it's going to be Yori running it through. Martine in another dimension, trying to find some players, and he's seen the site is fully clear. Heretics were aware that this was exactly what KC were working with, that they'd probably have a bombardment of util and firepower coming their way. So instead they avoid any sort of combat in that early fight. I love this setup now for the retake.
Timing's going to be everything.
He's got him, surely.
It's actually going to be facing the other way, but it doesn't matter. Shin was looking for that, still loses the battle. The same can be said for Thomasy. He's now watching, and he will win that from above. Narrate even going to pop his ult. There's a chance for a lot of damage, but he gets absolutely nothing for it. It doesn't matter with the spray down, but Rienz has found 2, make that 3. Now Thomasy outside the site. They already knew where he is, but he's been revealed, and he can't do anything from this position. He needs to find a kill. Rienz, the man sat back at home right now, has pulled out a worldie.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable round from him. If I'm not mistaken, the second kill probably wasn't even intentional. He came in to trade his teammate and just got a little bit more than he bargained for, but in a good way. 2 quick kills, following up with the 3rd, and a gorgeous farming round for him.
Yo, he just pulled his gun out. The thing is, like, Shin there, even clearing that angle to begin with is kind of like, okay, you're really doing your due diligence, but
come on, chat, let's hit that like, share, sub, like, share, follow. Come on,
and that was the thing we were really impressed with in their first matchup. Mini Boo and Boo, especially Boo, outdid expectations by a country mile. Like, Boo played an unreal game.
26 kills back to back. I mean, it's just unreal from a guy IGLing a younger
this
team.
split round, then TH is using Lotus round, and
I was going to
decide
disrespect
round
this
is
round, but Narek
sunset.
got extremely close.
Now we have to guys,
you know,
check
down
this
to,
out.
60 HP,
Whether
no
who
shields.
will gonna be,
So there's some damage already done, but
going to be
you know,
winning
how much can they
this
really
split
get
round.
out of this?
It's
The judge on Shin
TH
perhaps
is
stands a
dominating
chance,
right
but
now.
it's not like
In a
they've got
split,
the
but
ideal close range
It
angle.
will
No,
change any moment.
He's used it to go
Oh my
forward.
god.
That's That's great usage
I
from
think
Martin.
TH is going to
even
win.
spotted Shin. Now he's
Whoa,
nice and close. The judge
crazy.
in hand as he wraps on sight, but it's being diffused. Anyway, already Magnum needs to peek it. He's the only one that can stop it. He's seen now they're not on. Can use his utility to buy some more time, deal some damage, make it easier for Shin to finish those players off. And although Patatek found the kill, you had the grab well used up. Patatek picks the right angle though. They got out of it with a win, but at what cost?
Yeah, no, Patatek had to save them there. Again, he had a bit of a rough start in their first match, but top of the board right now. And without that 4K, it's not even close to them winning a round. The fact is he gets 2 and they still probably lose. The Spam initially almost lost a teammate, trading out Martin, who would have been behind them. But every single one of these was a massively high impact kill. The man above, and then the final one as well. Like, that was such a huge round from him, but it really shows the danger of this KC roster. At any moment, they can take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they've had such a...
Is it just me or did Mixo look like he's about to give a TED talk? Like just with it's the mic across the face. I don't know why. He's going to teach us something, guys. I'm ready.
I'm sure he's got plenty to teach. Perhaps Boo has time for a lesson. He's out of this round. Gets to sit back and watch the squad play it out. Viper's Pit was used on B, started this round. For Team Heretics, that's a ton of control. They're stacked up on B as well with Benji Fishy, both traps being there. So that side of the map is secure. It's Mini Boo that has to do a lot of work. And despite being tagged so low, Decayed down, he's still able to get 2. But Narrate, well, he doubles up on it, takes that 3rd kill and puts KC miles in the lead with a plant down and plenty of time for the post plants.
Financially, things aren't in a great spot for Heretics either. A lot of damage taken in the last round, so whether they go for this or not is really up to them. Thomasy weighing on the close angle. The nade is going to put them in such an awkward spot. Now Benji left, 82 HP, 3 players to find, and not a lot of time to do it. Would need to hit something pretty quickly. Does manage the first, but the other 2 players are wrapping round behind him together. He's actually predicted it for the trade. Is good. Again, a very close round, but this time one that goes to KC. And as said, financially now, things start to look a little bit troublesome for Heretics.
Well, that's it. You know, you got to commend KC for being able to, despite losing a lot of rounds, make them close. Yeah. That's kept the economy in not the healthiest of positions. And with a big round from Narrate, forcing them into the site, and despite Benji having a great read indeed, it has put them now in a spot that 6-2 down, they're able to fight. They should be back to 6-3, and Team Heretics could very quickly see this half snowball out of their favor. For KC, it's a chance to fight their way back in, and it starts here with Narrate quickly taking control of A Heaven. Look who's close on the other side. It's Mini Boo inside the smoke, down on A, and he's got a showstopper to work with. They need to be very careful that that doesn't find its mark.
He's also the one with the rifle. So normally you'd see maybe him with a shotgun or something. There's willing to take that risk, but he has been very good so far. Clearly having the faith that he might be the one to turn this round and potentially just setting him up with whatever utility they have. Close corner cleared by the nade. And they're now going to have players walking into the trip. A lot of information to be had, but again, I think that's the 2nd round in a row. Magnum has managed to catch one of them in that window with the C's, so they can't risk it.
All the spikes planted now for sure. KC seem to have a great spot to play from. A lot of information. They can push up ramp towards Heaven. Nobody was spotted. Rians is taking that space. He's ahead of the flash, and so is Mini Boo. A quick double, and that's going to get the showstopper out of him. Damage done at least. Blast pack to push him out of position, and Mini Boo follows up. Rians with another. It's flawless so far, and it might end that way. Magnum with his best attempt, and it was looking shaky. He got there in the end, but the upgrade's just to a pistol. He's stunned up, and he hasn't got time to gun out. That defuse already in. It might not be an Andalusia flawless, but you know what, Tom? It's 7-2, and they'll take that with the weapons they had. My God.
I think maybe it should have been. Honestly, that was so utterly impressive, and for KC a little bit unlucky. Like, they used Nightfall, I want to say a second too early. Like, it would have caught someone, they'd just go slightly more around the corner. The paranoia, second too late. Like, it just seemed like they had the right idea with all the utility they were using. Just the timing was off by such a small amount, and that gave the space. And then obviously Heretics just hitting some crazy shots, winning some great duels. And again, the thing I loved about watching this team in their first match, they group up and play together. Their trades are sublime, and for the most part, they don't even need the trades because they play so well together.
Like, it can be hard to get that attack side going, but that really felt like KC's wide open door. They just had to step right through it, but the door now shut in their face, and they're left down to pistols, somewhere they've at least found damage before. We'll hope for that again. Only a couple of rounds left to play with here in this half. Attack down to 40. Something to work with. One shot to the Sheriff. KC, time to get going was last round.
How was that
Magnum
headshot?
has been shut down, and it's spotted. No, players mid, and you've got players coming up right into A heaven. They know at this point that what we're looking at is an A split. That's the intention. So you see that third player rotate around. Rian's now backing them up with this utility, and that's going to slow KC. You can see how these rounds have come down to the last few seconds with just how much Heretics like to stall them.
Again, the Heretics are just so patient. And for the side of KC, you're walking into a site that has 2 players within it, a third waiting to try and catch them on the cross. They haven't even seen Benji, who's just got a firing range in front of him. Tomzy down to just 1 HP. There's not really much chance for him in this round. They got 15 seconds. At this point, you almost have to die just to get that extra credits on the board. Maybe they can save that singular rifle, but they are not getting anything from this round. And Benji Fishy at the backside, an easy cleanup for him as they now have their 8th. This defense looking stellar.
Yeah, it feels like KC's attack really just banging their head against a wall. The different walls every single time, but there's no weaknesses to be found, regardless of where they go, how they try it. Even here, like, having a player break the trip while somebody's holding heaven, that's a good idea. I like it. Trying to bait out a gunfight, something that Heretics have been avoiding every step of the way. If they can avoid a gunfight and use utility to keep you back, they will do it. So the idea is to just swing, make that player swing after the trap to see if there's someone there, and you'll take his head off. Unfortunately, Magnum got his head ripped off, and this has happened consistently.
Where is he going? They're just setting up Miniboo to do crazier and crazier things. Could have afforded a rifle in this round, but wants to play off the back of the Judge. They're also taking control. He could have stuck that. It would have been incredibly risky, but they're just getting that information again off the ults that they have. Now, they're going to want to try and figure out fairly early where KC are going. That showstopper dimensional drift combo can put the round into disarray. And at the moment, they're playing nobody within that B site, just looking at the cross, trying to catch them on the way through. And they're just going to deny any extra space. The thing is, KC are doing a good job to bait out a lot of this utility early, but the problem is when they've got into the late round, there's still been plenty left for Heretics to use.
But even right now, the B camera is down, but you've still got traps. Granted, the one on the back of B side is nasty. The one on the way through B, this one might actually be able to catch something. You've already seen Martin go past it, and his teammates need to be wary on the way through. They've broken already. They'll cross the site. There's no punishment. Team Heretics, it looks set to be a pretty hard retake for this squad. And with the showstopper still cocked and ready to go from Narrate, this could be tough to get anything done, let alone this flank from Shin that, I mean, just a disgusting lurk. He's still able to have impact, of course, with those stars.
Yeah, they've broken the trip at the back. Nade going through, showstopper still available. It can be popped at any moment, and to be honest, it's going to be used right now. Boo. What? Miniboo! Absurd couple of headshots, and they know where the last man was. He was wrapping through from behind. He still has a grab well. And it is going to stop that defusal. Not to half yet either, so they have no idea where he's coming from. Shim just looking to wrap back around if he can kill the guy. Defusing, he has a chance, but Miniboo's just not missing. A third headshot of the round, a 9th round onto the board, and even with a couple of ultimates to get them in and slow them down, it is not enough to stop Team Heretics.
I don't know what Patatek just called crazy, but I think it might have been Miniboo.
Maybe this, probably
absolutely ridiculous for this guy to be able to do that with such low HP going into those fights as well. And,
did you just say calm it down, didn't I? Easy, no problem.
Relax, guys. Come on, it wasn't a big play.
I'm 16 and 7, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, we talked about yesterday being Boo's day, and he was outperforming Miniboo. He was looking unreal, consistent as well, 26 kills each game. This time, well, he's happy to take a little bit of a back step.
Yeah, you know, he doesn't need to.
He's still positive, but not quite as positive as Miniboo. Spray down from Rians. Decent chance when they're in this choke point. That reveals all. Of course, it's only going to be a decoy on its way through. There's the real one, and they shot the wrong one. Unlucky for Benji and for Miniboo. Rian's caught with ult in hand, and this round, the last of the half, may just be KC's, short of some absolutely insane heroics from Boo and Patatek that I'm feeling confident might come through.
You never know at this stage. they've been able to pull off so many ridiculous rounds. Panatek had a great game, but not this time out. KC will at least manage to get themselves a third, get something done on the attack, which, as we sort of said, with this sort of composition, there's definitely opportunities. I'm definitely intrigued to see how they're going to be playing this one on the defense, because again, it has to be relatively explosive when you're running this Raze in combination with Yoru. They do have a lot of setup. I feel like Shin will be able to put some pieces into play for them to play with, but the fact is I feel like Nilzinho's got to be very happy with how his team performed, because that was a light out performance from them.
Absolutely, a stellar opening half in this matchup, and if you're the side of KC, you're definitely going to be sweating. This defensive side, you had questions, and I think there's going to be answers about how Team Heretics play the attack. But if Miniboo can keep hitting shots the way he is, even Rian's sitting on a breach, 12 and 6. He's been looking very good, popping off individually, and that's what we want to see moving into this attack side. KC, all ghosts. Let's see if they can find the impact with them.
Yeah, they've got a decent amount of utility to play with. Narrate with the Boombot, the Flash for Martine, Seize, of course, for Magnum, and the Paranoia. So plenty of setup, but you almost feel like if they fail on whatever initial plan they have, it could go very wrong. It looks like they're about to go for it now. Everybody just pushing into this mid position, and that's the thing. They've just used pretty much every single piece of utility bar the Boombot and a Flash, and they got nothing.
Worlds apart from what we've seen from Heretics, keeping their util till late round. You know, here it's not individuals dumping it, it's a team dump. I don't know if they expected that space to be taken,
right?
And they could.
You take a team dump.
A team utility dump.
Oh, utility. Sorry.
Yes. Well,
that's what I heard you did in Alliance, so that's just what I was asking.
Me and Enzo have never been closer. Team Heretics looking for their double digits to be found, and they've got an A site wide open. The poison orb up top, well, it's not there anymore, but luckily no one's peeking, so plant will be found for free. And the retake for KC. Now, having used up all of that utility early on, they don't have a ton to clear these angles. Instead, have to rely on individual prowess, on winning aim duels. Miniboo goes down after one. That's a good sign. Benji still lurking around, and they've got a decent idea where he is, as well as Boo still being so far away. They cannot even deal with the first man, let alone the rest. Team Heretics, 10 rounds on the board. They are looking uncontested on KC's map pick.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those scenarios where I don't mind the ideas from KC at all. Like, if they herd a lot of players around mid, they go for something aggressive. If the players are a little bit further forward and that Seize catches them alongside the Paranoia and a nade, they are all dead. You've played a perfect round. Unfortunately, they're a little bit further back, a little bit more tentative on Heretic's side. And because of that, you got absolutely nothing. And as I said, you're running in, I think they had a Haunt and a singular Flash. That was for the whole retake at a 5v5. It's never going to work.
Buying bonds versus roulette. You know, different investment approaches. And for KC, it has not worked out. Now, the blue side's going to hope to move into A and find it open again. And Team Heretics are very much correct in the assumption. It's wide open for KC. How do we get back in with classics? And very little in terms of the hard-hitting util combos. No ultimates to play with. Well, let's see. Reveal, nade, not much to be found. And once they see these rifles, Tom, I expect that this retake will crumble. Really, it's all about that next round and how much damage they can do.
But yeah, the main thing I'm looking at as well is re-ends, because you've got those 3 rifles. They need to be saved. But if he can maybe farm up some orbs, spray down from Boo, but that is one of the guns. And that's the thing. Narrate can either opt to throw this out of the map, die to the spike, or just keep it and run it in the next round himself. So that is definitely going to make things that little bit more costly than would have been like for the side of Heretics. They'll still probably come in with a fairly solid buy. Benji likely to buy back in with a rifle, so not really the end of the world, but probably a little bit frustrating for Heretics. Then again, they are winning 11-3, so I think they'll be okay with it.
Yeah, you know, giving a gun to your opponent with this much of a lead, there's no way that'll come back to bite them. It would be beautiful, it would be poetic, but well, let's see if it does. 11-3, Team Heretics, 2 more to go, and this buy round is pretty much all that stands between them and victory. KC are going to have nothing left if they lose this one, and ults aren't going to be online to bounce them back into it, Tom. This is where, if they've been feeling pressure so far, it just got a lot worse.
It's in order. 18, 12, 11, 11, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 5.
There we go.
Beautiful, unless you're a KC fan. Then you're probably not too happy that the top fragger on your team is the bottom on the other.
A beautiful sadness. Oh, I like this. Paranoia through. Play from Narrate. He's not used the nade. Luckily, that player had TP'd out of the corner, so would have just been a wasted piece of utility. And keeping it in for later in the round. It could be essential for them. With another orb farmed up as well, he's still very far away from getting that showstopper, but it could help get it online before this game teeters out.
Yeah, this is the thing, though. Similarly to Vitality, when they played yesterday versus Gentlemates, I think Heretics have got a very good read on, okay, they're playing Yoru Raze, they have to push stuff. So let's just be very ready, have a counter flash, have something available to stop them whenever they try and aggress. So, okay, you've used a Paranoia, we're going to just get out of there and reset. You've now wasted that piece of utility. And I think they're doing incredibly well at just making these sort of things very, very awkward. And even just things like that, small piece of information. Okay, you had an aggressive spot, I've spotted you with a cam, you have to fall back, you don't have that information anymore.
Yeah, you're going to have to use some of your utility, some of your abilities for later on in the round. It's nice. Patatek might have a challenge here.
30 seconds
Looked for a second like Magnum was thinking about going down, but he was just checking it, making sure no one was sneaking up, but the timing is pretty decent. Team Heretics arriving on site now and looking to make their way through to this A site. Heaven is theirs for free. Aftershock is down. It's going to force him towards the site. We saw this from KC, a reactive flash, though. It's not quite worked. They've not been able to connect the shots on the back of the util. Nice play, though. Narrate slows them. Nade in. It's a little late, but it might just get some damage. Maybe even the kill on Boo. No, he's out. 40 HP still. Benji holding strong. 3 quick kills. And another nail seems hammered firmly in KC's coffin. 12-3. And Benji is making it look easy.
Well, that's the thing. That was one, after seeing like Benji play with the old roster, even in some of the off-season, you do sort of question a little bit, like, is he going to have that individual ability when it comes to Valorant? Is he going to be at a high enough level to compete with these players? But right now, second to the board, he's had a fantastic game, and he's been popping heads all the way through. And while our last-ditch effort, where we've always given plaudits over to Eng and his coaching, if whatever he says here means they win 9 rounds in a row, I think we just give him the Champions Trophy now, because it would just be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. In other words, I don't believe in the comeback.
Nilzinho might just take the dub over Eng. The better coach confirmed on paper. What can we say?
I think Sue will come up here and fight you.
I don't know, man. I once heard a phrase that said stats don't lie. And I'm looking at this year's stats after this game. It could just be leaning.
You're not even going to wait till the end
favor.
of the best of 3, or just this map?
It's 12-3 up on KC's pick, Tom.
It's true.
He's the greatest of all time, isn't he? Mini's not even in the conversation anymore.
Yeah, I just get flashbacks to Gambit versus G2 on Icebox, and then I think maybe we ask a few questions there. No, that map was pain. That map was pain, especially if you were a G2 fan at the time. But either way,
it's a lot of pain for G2 fans at the time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
after the time.
Yeah, they had a golden age at the very beginning.
Right.
You'll beat the party pirates.
Just some guy's angel found on the street. That's not me saying it. That was him. Well, this could be the last round of KC's map pick. A quick kickoff to the day. Not the one that the French fans expected for sure. Team Heretics now on their way through already, avoiding the damage. The flashes were good, but Tamazi's not spotted in the corner. Narrate able to get a lot done before falling, and now Miniboo got a lot of ground to recover. He won't make it out alive. And with 11 HP left, a godlike clutch from Patatek needs to come through. Even the decoy to start off. He's not falling for it. He knows you're not running through a snake bite like that. Not even vulnerable. And with him not shooting it, maybe they don't check this corner. That's his best chance. Great shot from Patatek. One more needed, but not this time. A lifeline for Carmine Corps as they go 12-4.
A nice try. A nice try. And again, it's going to put the economy of KC on the brink, as it has been throughout most of this game. And for Heretics, they can buy back in comfortably. Showstopper online for Narrate. He's at least been putting up some numbers in this game. He's been sort of the one shining light throughout. Miniboo, though, has been dominant. 21 and 10, one away for a showstopper of his own, and actually a lot of the ults starting to come on. That's the real worry, is you might be able to bring back a couple of these rounds, but eventually there's going to be a Rolling Thunder, a Viper's Pit, and it's going to become very, very difficult to hold on to those rounds.
That's it. That's the problem with being this far behind. They can just probably have 2 ult dump rounds before this closes, and well, good luck to you winning even one of those. Miniboo, the first to start, punishing Shin for the betrayal in the previous. Now Narrate falls. The better Raze stands strong. A rocket up close. It looks like a shotgun in his hands, and it's deadly with 3 kills already. It looks like Miniboo's just booked them. A 1-0 start to the series. Martine's got a flash in hand. Good night, Sunshine. Tamazi, the last man standing. 1 versus 4. The world against him. Let's see if he can stand strong. I'm not feeling it with that Bulldog with the full HP on everybody other than Miniboo. And from what we've seen, he certainly doesn't need it. Just delaying the inevitable. It's been a tough game for KC. And I'm sure the rest of the squad already thinking about their setups on Lotus and how they're going to play out.
My ultimate is ready.
The youngster at least able to find one. But just look at the setup. He's got to peek in. He knew it was coming. Heretics, they're going to dominate map number 1. And I'll be honest with you, Mitch, maybe last year you didn't watch the Spanish League, you didn't see Miniboo. Maybe after his first game, you're like, oh, you know, it's the first game. Maybe he just had a good game. Well, by now, you must be very excited.
Oh, I absolutely am. So excited, I don't want to wait around. Let's get this one over to the analyst desk after the break.
I know a...
Hey guys, it's Jimmy Lin, former professional Counter-Strike player and VALORANT coach. Watch out for the stairs, clear this angle, you're going to be able to fight this.
Red Bull gives you wings.